Why I think 60 FPS is holding back this generation of consoles.
I mean, in a way, I agree that 60 FPS is holding back the consoles because we should be at like 90 or 120 as the baseline of what is expected. I've been playing games for a long time. I was born in 1997. I've been playing games most of my life. I remember there was a golf game on the PS1 that my uncle used to play when we were over at his house out in fucking Enumclaw, Washington. Have you heard of Enumclaw? No, nobody has. But that shit blew my mind. And there was a McDonald's in Enumclaw, Washington that had an N60, like one of those N64 demo like stations where we would play Banjo-Kazooie. So listen, I've got way more gaming cred than you do, Brad or Kyle or Jared or Jake, whatever your fucking name is. Not to use all male names there. I'll use some female names. Sally or Sarah or Samantha. I don't know why I use all S's there. Maybe I'm secretly a snake. And I can only comprehend names that start with S. But listen, there is no possible way you're trying to argue that 60 FPS is holding back gaming or ruining this generation of gaming. The only way that the 60 FPS could be ruining this generation of gaming is if somehow the expectation of 15 years ago is now just too much to expect from an industry that has infinitely more money pumped into it than it did when I was a kid and 60 FPS was not uncommon. There's just no way we're doing that. But we're gonna keep watching the video, because actually I think there's a way we're doing that.
From generation to generation, we always see a huge jump on visuals on video games.
No, we don't see a huge jump from visuals generation to generation. The PS4 to PS5 generational visual jump was not that big, which is a big sticking point for a lot of people who have been around here for a while, because previously generation to generation visual jumps were a big deal. Now they're not. They haven't been a very big generational jump for a while now, because there is a point where realism just becomes standard. During the PS4 generation, or even the later days of the PS3 generation, I would argue is where realism became standard in terms of how good you could make things look. And at that point, how good you could make things look was not the main indication of how well a game was running. It was how good you could make it look, with how unique you could make it look, with how smooth it was to play. When I was younger, the end of the PS3 generation into the PS4 generation, games weren't judged on just how realistic they looked. They were judged on how unique they looked, plus the realism aspect, plus the smooth aspect. But I don't feel like you're really going to be thinking about the smooth aspect in a video called, quote, why 60 FPS is ruining this generation of console. I just don't feel like that's what you're going to be talking about. Let me just go down to the comment section of your videos and, ooh, I bet that guy's really handsome. This video is brought to you by Geology, the award-winning skin, hair, and body care company for men. That's right, men. Get out of the treehouse, Sally. The men are talking. Geology is a 42-time award-winning and counting personalized skincare company recognized by places like Esquire, Ask Men, and Men's Health. They have over 10,000 5-star reviews, and the way that they work is they create a simple and effective skincare routine based on a little test that you take on their website, and then they only use ingredients that are proven to work. There's only a handful of ingredients that they even use. So if you're tired of dealing with stubborn acne or oily skin or dry skin, you can take the little quiz on their website and they will build you a personalized skincare routine. And I can personally attest to the fact that their ingredients work. Their products do work. Take a look at me. You may not know it looking at this handsome punk rock mug of mine, but I have extremely dry skin. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I moved to Colorado. My skin is constantly fighting me. But I've been using Geology, and I genuinely have been seeing a difference. And so has my wife. Although my wife is not allowed in the treehouse, she's not a man. So if you are a man who's been concerned with things like acne, with dry skin, with oily skin, with redness or dark circles under your eyes, and you've just been saying to yourself, man, I'm a man and can't use skincare products. I want you to get over yourself and pay attention for the next 12 seconds because I can get you 80% off your personalized skincare trial set, and I can also get you a 4-piece personalized skincare routine for $10. And do note that this is a subscription service, so they intend for you to keep using it, and you should keep using it because skincare is not just a one size or one thing solution. You got to keep with it, you got to stick with it, and I promise you that Geology will actually work if you stick with it. But if subscriptions aren't your thing, you can also go to Geology's Amazon page. You can also get Geology products off of Amazon with up to 25% off and free Prime shipping. So they have options for you whether you want to commit to a subscription or if you're comfortable doing one-time purchases repeatedly. Or if you just want to try it once and then think about it. So visit the link, use my code, get 80% off your 4-piece personalized skincare trial set. Or if you want to try one-time purchases, head on over to Geology on Amazon and get 25% off plus 2-day free shipping with Prime. And thank you to Geology for once again sponsoring the channel. I only do repeat sponsorships if I really think it's a good product, and consider this my Joe from Seattle stamp of approval. Geology is a very good product, and now I will let you keep watching whatever stupid nonsense you were watching before.
But for the PS5 and Xbox Series generation, we don't see a lot of games that really felt like a next generation game.
Before you say anything, this video is only 3 weeks old. Like before you yell at me for like making fun of somebody making a generalization about the PS5 or Xbox Series generation before the generation started, this video is only 3 weeks old. So shut the fuck up. Preemptively, shut the fuck up.
And sometimes felt like we are still living in the last generation because of how similar the visuals were to the PS4, Xbox One era.
Yes, because if your standard of graphical fidelity or your standard of like how good the game looks, if what you are judging the game on is just how realistic it looks, there is an actual cap on how good the game can look, because eventually the game looks lifelike. And that's just as far as it's going to be pushed. But if you are looking for games to be lifelike, to be realistic looking, that leaves no room for art style. That leaves no room for artistic expression.
Even some PS4 games, I argue, look better than some of the PS5 games.
Yes, and I would agree with that. Certain games from the PS4 era look better than the games from the PS5 era. You on screen right now, you have Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight looks incredible, but I would even argue there's games from the PS3 era that if you were to run them on your PC, just boot those games up on your PC, they would look better than a lot of the PS5 offerings would have on the PC. This game looks so good. I mean, shit, we'll even take the PC out of it. I'm just going to put cutscenes from Gears of War 3 on the Xbox 360. I'm just going to put these on screen. The next step after this should not have been refining the graphics to look even more realistic. The next step after this should have been refining the gameplay to be smoother, so you could really enhance the visual style, the art style, because Gears of War 3, this is not a lifelike game. The next step after this shouldn't have been refining everything to look more realistic. It should have been refining everything to make your vision come to life. Your vision did not have to be just what you see when you walk outside the door. That kind of defeats the point of escapism, does it not?
But why is this the case? First, we need to take a look at the bump on visuals from generation to generation. We'll start from the PS1 to the PS2 generation. The bump on visuals from the PS1 to the PS2 is very noticeable and felt like you're stepping into the next generation of consoles.
Yes, but the end goal was not realism. The jump was noticeable, but the end goal was not realism. I feel like we're going to be skipping over that in this video. Just a hunch.
Games on PS2 look stunning at the time. No more of those blocky characters like the infamous Final Fantasy VII models. Games on PS2 can finally be run mostly at 3D, whereas PS1 games needed to rely on 2D assets or 2D backgrounds most of the time.
Yes, games on the PS2 looked stunning at the time. I was there. I can tell you firsthand that they were stunning at the time. Not because they were trying to look realistic, again, not because they were trying to look realistic, but because nothing like that had been done before. You see the difference there. Games on the PS2 did not look stunning and amazing because they looked so realistic. You look at games from the PS2 era and they are still very stylized. They are still there's very distinct art styles on display there, but they look like a huge jump over the PS1, which was also stylized, which also had really distinct art styles there. The hardware jump from the PS1 to the PS2 allowed creators to, some of them were going for realism, some of them were not. You bring up Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has never been going for realism. Never. Not once in the entire history of that franchise has it been going for realism. You can say, Joe, Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 15, those characters look so real. But I mean, you take a character from Final Fantasy 16, put it next to a real person, this is clearly stylized. And that's my point. That's the point of a lot of people. Generation to generation of tech made games more accessible from a technical standpoint. It gave games more possibility of what could be done. But that didn't necessarily mean the end goal was ultra realism. And given how often your video jumps back to Red Dead 2, I just don't feel like you've been playing games for more than 18 months.
But from the very start, games already pushing the system with the likes of GTA 3. Then came games like Resident Evil 4, Bully, GTA San Andreas, Metal Gear Solid 3, Black, and etc.
I'm taking a screenshot of the 5 games he puts on screen here, just because it's going to be relevant in 10 seconds. Keep your thoughts on the 5 games he shows here as an indication of technical advancement from the PS1 to the PS2. Just keep these 5 games in mind. RE4, Bully, San Andreas, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, and Black. Because it's going to get really ironic in 20 seconds.
And all of these games have one thing in common. They all running at 30 FPS.
And are all going for realistic realism. They're not going for art style, they're going for realism. And that's why they're running at 30 FPS, but just keep going. The irony is still coming.
Sure, there are games that runs at 60 FPS like Metal Gear Solid 2, but developers always wants to push what's possible on the system in this generation.
Yes, the developers always want to push what's possible on the system. They always want that, always. I don't think you're correct about this.
There's a balance between 60 and 30 FPS games released for the console.
Pause, full pause. This is the irony. Irony alert. Woo, woo, woo. Here's the irony. Look, on the 60 FPS side, you have one Metal Gear game, then a different Metal Gear game on the 30 FPS side, which is just kind of funny. But also on the 60 FPS side, you have God of War and Devil May Cry. 2 games that are extremely gameplay focused. Super gameplay focused games run at 60 FPS. More realistic games, air quote, immersive games. I hate the idea that an immersive game has to be realistic looking. There's no way you can get immersed in a game that doesn't look like the world when you walk outside. I just fucking hate that. But look at this. Look at the difference between the games that are 60 FPS and the games that are 30 FPS. He's arguing that the immersion factor on these 30 FPS games is higher than the immersion factor on the 60 FPS games. And as someone who recently played the God of War games, and to honestly, semi-regularly replays the PS2 era God of War games, I'm just not seeing the lack of immersion in those games. I am grossly immersed in those games when I play them. And part of the reason why I'm so immersed in those games is because they run at literally double the frame rate of the 30 FPS games. And as someone who is trying to be immersed in the world of this fast-paced action game, a 30 FPS game, I see my actions on screen quicker. I feel the response of my controller inputs quicker, literally twice as quickly in these 60 FPS games. It's almost as immersion is not limited by how lifelike the game looks. What's your name? I'm Finn? I'm Finn. I'm trying to be nice because you only have 7 subs. I'm trying to be nice. But fuck me. Your entire attitude towards gaming is completely backwards.
From the PS2 to the PS3 generation, the jump on visuals were even greater. Games are more cinematic than ever, textures look more detailed, and character models look more believable.
Yeah, true. Hardware jumps were rather drastic in the 2000s. I was born in 97. I lived through this. I am very familiar with this. And not to judge your age by the sound of your voice, but you sound like you did not live through this. So let me give you the perspective of someone who did live through this. At the time, as someone who actively played video games at the time that the HD generation was becoming a thing, this was a conversation even back then, that there was a certain level of like the automatic praise that a game got by being realistic, but there was still a level of engagement through gameplay that was being lost. Does that make sense? If you're my age or older, you probably remember this. Of like, there were games when we were younger that were very gameplay focused, very cartoony, and then the capabilities for HD graphics, for realistic graphics came along, and there were games that seemed to substitute the gameplay interaction for realism. And even in the moment, we were like, okay, who cares? The biggest examples I can think of, just right off the top of my head from the time, The Order 1886. I know that was PS4, not PS3. You're talking about the PS3, but The Order 1886 was PS4. Sure, we'll talk about a different one. Fucking Heavy Rain. Fucking Uncharted 2 and 3. Games that in the moment, people were like, okay, this looks amazing. This looks great. This looks awesome. But I was playing games 5 years ago, and there's less gameplay now. Why are we quick time eventing everything? Because, oh, it looks fancy? I don't care. That's not why I play video games. I just think it's funny that you can so distinctly tell when somebody started playing video games during the HD era, and when somebody started playing video games before the HD era and lived through the transition to the HD era. There was a very distinct change in the way that AAA games were developed here.
And in this generation, developers were really pushing the system from the very start, with games like Killzone 2, Batman Arkham Asylum, Uncharted, GTA 4, Gears of War, Metal Gear Solid 4, and etc.
Yeah, let's just think about this. Arkham Asylum blew my stupid fucking mind when I was a kid. Because Arkham Asylum, despite being a very visually impressive game for the time, I mean, even now, Arkham Asylum's visuals are very distinct, had a very distinct art style. Arkham Asylum blew my mind because there was a completely new kind of gameplay there. Same with Gears of War. Gears of War looked absolutely distinct from other HD games at the time. And this is something I've talked about on the channel before. As someone who... Gears of War is such a, like, special game to me, the first Gears of War. Because I was... How old was I in 2006? That game came out in 2006, right? I came out in 1997. But like Gears of War had the graphic filter content, so there were a lot of people of my generation who were allowed to play Gears of War with the graphic filter content, which means we had our stupid fucking minds blown by how that game looked. But even now, you look at Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2 and these old Gears of War games with how they play compared to third-person shooters of today and third-person shooters that came afterwards, they play so distinctly. It's so different. You can tell there was a conscious effort to make the game look as good as possible while playing as engagingly as possible. You have GTA 4 in this screenshot too. GTA 4 is one of my favorite Rockstar games. I think it is my second favorite Rockstar game of all time because I love GTA 4. I love Red Dead 1. I love Manhunt, honestly. I like Manhunt 1 and 2. They kind of blurred together in my head. The Manhunt games are so good. And also Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 kicks ass. But if you were playing games at this time, you know what I mean when I say that there was a conscious effort during the early years of the, I think this was the 7th console gen, the 360 and the PS3, that was the 7th console gen. There was a conscious effort to make these games as technically demanding as possible without sacrificing gameplay innovation. That's the difference. The games of this time were taking technical hits, sure. These games weren't running at as high of technical performance as they could have because they were trying to push the technical limits, sure, but at the same time they were trying to push the gameplay limits as well. You compare that to today, where gameplay limits are being very consciously and very explicitly sacrificed for the sake of graphical limits, for the sake of technical limits. That's the difference. You talk about the PS3 and 360 era as, oh, 30 FPS was fine back then. Yes, I mean, aside from the fact that was 15 to 20 fucking years ago, but also the attitude was very clearly different back then. These developers were trying to put the money on screen, and by put the money on screen, I don't just mean graphically, I mean gameplay wise, I mean CPU wise, I mean memory wise. How much can we put on screen that engages the player literally with their thumbs, with their hands, in addition to graphically? That's the difference. You started playing games within the last 5 years. It is very clear. It's not your fault that you started playing games in the last 5 years, but you need to understand the perspective of people who were here before you. Because the whole reason why the current generation of consoles and the current generation of AAA gaming is going to hell in a handbasket, to quote my grandma, God rest her soul, this is exactly why. The attitude has completely changed.
And at the end of its life cycle, the visuals were even better as developers became more familiar with the console.
Yes, that's not a point of praise. Oh, by the end of the console generation, developers were more familiar with the tech. Yeah, I would fucking hope they would be. That's not a point of praise. That's just a point of humans being humans. If that wasn't the case, I'd be pissed off as a consumer. This is how I know you've only been here for like 5 minutes.
Games like GTA 5, The Last of Us, Resistance 3, Uncharted 3, and etc. The visuals were so good at the time that some of them could even rival some of the early titles for the PS4 in terms of visuals.
Which also, not to bring console warring into this, but you have to realize that he's only bringing up PlayStation exclusives. Gears of War has been the one and only Xbox game that he's brought up here. Every single other game he's brought up has been multi-platform or PlayStation exclusive. And I mean, he's posting a video called "Why is 60 FPS ruining this generation of console?" in the current year, and he only seems to be talking about PlayStation exclusives. My point is Sony is ruining the AAA industry. Anyways, continue.
And all of this is possible because of developers targeting 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS.
Yes, but why are they targeting 30 FPS? Why are they doing that? And better question, should they be doing that? Video games are an interactive medium. You think about why they were targeting 30 FPS 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Why were they targeting FPS? Was it a technical limitation or was it a design choice? Think about that. Were 30 FPS caps in the PS2 era a technical limitation or was it a choice? The games that were targeting 30 FPS in the PS2 generation or the PS3 generation, would they have done the game at 30 FPS if they had the choice of 60 FPS? All things being equal, would they have chosen 30 over 60 if they could have? Because I don't think they would have.
From the PS3 to the PS4, the same thing happened. Games on PS4 were almost reaching photorealism even in its first couple of years of the generation.
Right. So like there were several PS4 games that were reaching photorealism at 30 FPS. In the PS4 era, the PS4 came out in 2013. So explain to me why games were photorealistic on the PS4 at 30 FPS, and now here we are in the PS5 era, the PS5 Pro era, games that are photorealistic still at 30 FPS. You're gonna have to explain that to me.
With the likes of Killzone Shadowfall, Infamous Second Son, Drive Club, Batman Arkham Knight, and etc.
Again, notice the complete reliance on PlayStation IP here. It's just, not to bring console war into this. I'm a PC player, I don't care. But I just think it's very funny that when we talk about like, oh, the best example, the best graphics you can get, we're only talking about PlayStation IP. It's just very interesting.
Later came games like Uncharted 4, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Last of Us Part 2, and etc. Where those games' visuals look so good even till this day on the PS5 Xbox Series era.
And a common theme over all of those games you just mentioned is that they were going for hyper-realism. They were not going for unique art styles. They were not going for any kind of unique artistic expression. They were just trying to look realistic.
And the fact that all of those games running at 30 FPS just tells how much PS4 being pushed to its full potential.
No, because I can name other games on the PS4 that looked realistic and were running at 60 FPS. Battlefront 2, Battlefield 5, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein, the Wolfenstein reboot games. There is a major disconnect between the actual gamers and the casual gamers. I'm lumping you in with the casual gamers. That's not a mark against you. That's not a mark against you as a person, but that's just reality. Great realistic graphics with good game performance has been perfectly possible for a long time. Why are you not advocating for that?
And now in the PS5's Xbox Series generation, the bump on visuals from the last generation felt nothing very significant.
Which adds even more irony to the fact that you've been using Red Dead 2 gameplay in the background of this video. Red Dead 2 still runs at 30 fucking frames per second on the PS5 and the Xbox Series. 30 frames per second, this game from 2018. And you're going to tell me with a straight face that 60 FPS is the problem. You're going to tell me with a straight face that I'm an issue because I want higher frame rates for an interactive medium. Fuck yourself, keep talking.
At its first few years, we got games like Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, those are the only games we got in the first few years. Only ones. For such a PlayStation hyper focused person, I'm shocked you didn't bring up the Demon's Souls remake, which looked amazing and ran at 60 FPS, but you won't bring that up because that would destroy your entire argument.
Which is a cross-gen title, meaning it is also released for the PS4. Both game looks amazing on PS5, but also looked amazing on PS4.
Yeah, no, God of War Ragnarok looks identical to God of War 2018. Can we stop beating around the bush here? God of War Ragnarok looks identical to God of War 2018. Stop making excuses. There was no graphical leap between these two games. Just stop.
With little to no difference, especially God of War Ragnarok. But eventually, we got the PS5 only games like Spider-Man 2, Returnal, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and etc.
Again, notice the lack of Demon's Souls here. Notice the lack of the PS5 only game that actually knows how to optimize the game with realistic graphics and 60 FPS gameplay. Notice the lack of that game.
Those games look great, but at the same time, it looks too similar to the PS4 games. I'm not saying that it's the same quality, but it's not too far off from the visuals we see on the PS4 generation.
Backyard Baseball is better than all of these games.
You hardly felt that next generation magic you feel when you play Uncharted 4 on the PS4 or Killzone 2 on the PS3.
Or Demon's Souls on the PS5. Again, I just think it's so fascinating that you're ignoring one of the most high-profile exclusives from the early PS5 era. It's almost like that game completely destroys the entire argument you're making, and we're just erasing that game from canon, because if we don't erase that game from canon, well then that opens up plenty of doors for Sony to be criticized.
So far, there's only been 3 games that have that feeling in my opinion, and that is Death Stranding 2, Alan Wake 2, and Ghost of Yotei.
So 2 multi-platform games and also Ghost of Yotei, which is, let's be real, that's an expansion for Ghost of Tsushima. There's no big visual distinction between Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei. That's not a dig at Ghost of Yotei as a game. I'm talking he's talking about visuals. He's talking about performance. Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, there's no massive visual distinction between them. And I don't care about that. I care about the game. I care about the gameplay. So it's a very odd choice of games here.
Where the visuals look like a true next-gen experience.
No, they don't. They just don't. That's my whole point.
And my reasons for that problem is the demand for 60 FPS in this current generation is even bigger than ever.
Yeah, God forbid, new generations of gaming hardware come with new, higher expectations for the capabilities of the gaming hardware. Are you retarded? Like what? Like what? Of course, the new generation of hardware has higher expectations for what the hardware is capable of. What the fuck are you talking about?
Now, all games is required to have a performance mode targeting 60 FPS.
They're not required to do that. I mean, sometimes I wish they were required to do that, but they're not required to do that. What are you on about?
And because of that, developers don't have the freedom to push the consoles to its limits like we see on the PS4 generation.
So because there's in your brain there's a requirement to have higher frame rates, that's somehow a roadblock to developers. Like, oh, they don't have the freedom to push the hardware. Even though in your brain there's a requirement to push the hardware. This is how I know you started playing games 5 minutes ago. Like, what are you talking about?
I know that Death Stranding 2, Alan Wake 2, and Ghost of Yotei is also running at 60 FPS, but in the span of 5 years, we only get 3 next-gen experience.
I'm sorry. Over the first 5 years of the PS5 generation, those are the only 3 games that you think gave you a next-gen experience? First of all, that's because you have no clue what a next-gen gaming experience would actually give you because you started gaming 5 minutes ago. But also, second of all, if you think those are the only games that have given you a next-gen experience, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Well, I know what you're looking for. You're only looking for the most realistic graphics possible, which means you are not a gamer. Get out of my hobby. Stop infesting the pool of which gaming companies look at when they are trying to decide what they should be putting funding and focus into for new games. You are just looking for pretty graphics and basic, baseline, understandable gameplay. That is all you are looking for. Get out of my hobby.
And 3 of those games can look even better if the developers don't need to focus on making the game hit 60 FPS.
So you straight up see 60 FPS as the problem. You straight up see it as the problem. You straight up just want good graphics. You literally don't care what fucking frame rate the games are playing at. Fuck yourself. Fuck yourself. You are what is holding this industry back. I'm so tired of this.
The only developers that will push the system and ditch the 60 FPS target so far is Rockstar.
Oh yeah, no, Rockstar is the only company. Rockstar's the only company they're the only company that pushes stuff. They're the only company doing it, bro. Oh my god. Part of me feels bad because I can tell you started playing games 5 minutes ago, but the other part of me is just like, dude, I don't care anymore. The gaming industry is in such a fucking shambles right now because they keep listening to people like you. And I don't know how much longer I can keep making videos trying to be like the nice middleman, the nice guy trying to help people understand. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing that because people like you keep not getting it. We don't want video games to just be interactive CGI movies. We want video games to be actual games. You look at the PS2 era, even the PS3 era, PS1 era. Look at how gameplay focused these games were because they were not trying to be realistic. They knew they could not be realistic, so they lean into that to make unique art styles and lean into the actual gameplay experience, the moment-to-moment experience. This is an interactive medium, the interactive experience. You look at games like Dark Souls. You look at games like fucking Sly Cooper. These games are giving you experiences that you cannot get in other mediums because they are real-time interactive. New games don't give a shit about that because they're just trying to make the games as realistic and lifelike as possible. And people like you, that's all you care about. And as someone who's been here for a while, I'm really trying to be nice. I'm trying to be so nice. I'm trying to be so understanding. I'm trying not to be a gatekeeper, but also put your whole cock in your own mouth. This is not what's going to push the industry forward. This is just going to make things worse.
With their upcoming GTA 6, fans are more forgiving towards Rockstar with the 60 FPS demand, because we've been waiting the next GTA since 2013.
I mean, I haven't. I couldn't give a shit less about GTA 6. I really love GTA 4. I straight up did not like GTA 5. I straight up do not like GTA 5. I'm not saying GTA 5 is a bad game. Like, objectively speaking, it's a perfectly fine game. But GTA 4 is much more what I want from Rockstar. But GTA 5, I didn't like it. Red Dead 2 leaned even further into the things about GTA 5 that I didn't like. So yeah, I couldn't give a shit less about GTA 6. I straight up do not care.
As for the other games, 60 FPS is still a requirement for this generation.
60 FPS is not a requirement anywhere. That's part of the problem.
If developers given the freedom to push the system, maybe we would see more games implementing ray tracing more effectively. I'm not saying that I don't like games to be running at 60 FPS on consoles. I'm just saying there should be a balance of 60 and 30 FPS games.
The fact that you even brought up ray tracing just screams that you don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about and that you started playing games 5 minutes ago. Because I can promise you, people who actually play games, people who actually give a shit about this, one of the top 5 things they don't care about, ray tracing. So thank you for being a complete spotlight on the worst aspects of the gaming industry nowadays. Thank you for being the perfect example of the things that people should not be listening to when they develop games, but they listen to you anyways. And I guess I'll do the Doofus Club now, because I have no respect for myself, and also I want a Baconator. I want a Baconator. I worked out so hard today. I feel my bones getting smaller, so I need so much meat and protein and like fats and stuff, which means I might just get 2 or 3 Baconators. Because my god. Okay, Doofus Club time. Biscuit 1101, Snikes, Blue Hook, Suck on This Nuts, Joe, Partialman 8, Jack, Canady, Nate, a bunch of words that don't make sense, and then there's 2 English words here that also don't make sense, because there's no way those words would be put next to each other if you knew anything about life. Platypoi, Het Sinoi, Henthai, Bullet through Denchar, Avatar Steven, Game with 8 people and late, The Gamer 127YT, Chris Void, Jake Spider-Monkey 1994, hashtag Hail Bill Vanilli, Flappy Fingers 97, Hyperactive Turtle, Cards, Grimsy, Official Dregs, Google Baharapeji, it's an amazing instrument, Blast 1314. I want an enchilada, bro. I really want an enchilada right now. Mayo Setsuna, West of Rex, Ion 6, Slick Click Fix of Blu-ray Discs, Delta 169, Baron Von Vonaham, Unicorn Rocco, AI is Slav that makes Microsoft, Kushka, Doug Z Smile, Dirty Mike and the Boys, Weeb Sporks, and 11 dozen eggs, walk into a bar, yes, Max Tiller V2 Gaming, it's a hard dog life, nice dude, one man savage, no payoff, Vector, Mechanical Resonance, Vector, Autry, Vendetta Autry, I read those backwards, fuck my life, Sick Nick, Mad Fox 94, X-Chain Induction, Stick Rider, Broken Crown, Pope Rapper, the Rat King, Hersheyana, Squirts in the Temple of Boom Boom, Vast Dennis, Muskie, Clyde Penguin, the Jojo 6, Mole Thing, Really Zord Oracle, Jimmy Chapas, Master Killers, Tom Sean Laxton, Unknown 186718. They said High Guard doesn't need that many players. They were wrong. Edge Shadow Bear 1787, Benderfon 2, T-Train, Dischetti Club, Dischetti, Spaghetti, Rigatoni, Dischetti, the club, and voila, high power, Vox, Aldo, Snake Eyes, 327, MK2396, EX, marking the game, Fire has a 105, take a game in a slim gym, Lord, the bells are sick, and the Lord Jolo is after us, and the mode, local adult with autism, PC Gamer. Jixus Hyper, Rika Spiral, Rika Tika Tabby, your Xylophone, Doofus, Mertz Academy, Korean, the Steel Angel. Sony can't take our PC ports, but they can take our GTA 6. Cyrus, Tech 7712, Texas 940. Ormanju, you were right. It was E, you're so smart, Joe. Creed Warrior 23. Max Chap, Totally Insane, Black Cobra, the Inwall Slayer, Night of the Cypher, ML04, Wolf of Midnight, EKW, Steve Wins, Studios, Phil McCracken, Ohm Gaming, Tariq Brown, Dords Game, Maganek, Severn, MS, Mr. Spine, the Heat, is a catalog for Wyoming, Pow Pow, Donnie Weston, Gob Gonson, Rogue Winter 919, Zach Thane, Hangman for Hire, Elden Noble, Frost Crystal, Mega Key, Skeptical, Ghost Ho, Rhea, Soggy, Raptor Tim, Ominous Steph 94, Blue and Out, Face the Wind, Wake It Out, Jody's father, Jody Pedis. Fuck Smitty. It's just Smitty. We make advertisement. Dick Garcia, Kipikins, I American Idiot, Harmon Smith, Oh the Chin, Oh no, it's Justin, Randall, Tuning Win, Extreme 7, ASMR video, Retro Westa, Dylan Cease for Cy Young 2026. Veg, Groovy Banana, Curtin Allen Smack, Saul Hathen, Black Ops 2 on the PS3 was the last COD I enjoyed. I bet you all just came. I bet all of you that are still watching the video just came. ASMR videos, they're not sexual, Joe. They're not sexual. They're just like relaxing, you know? ASMR, there's nothing sexual about that, Joe. Stop being weird. ASMR is just like the indication that civilization as a whole is just on the decline. I hate it all. I hate it. It's so stupid. Okay, toodles. This video is brought to you by Geology, the award-winning skin, hair, and body care company for men. That's right, men. Get out of the treehouse, Sally. The men are talking. Geology is a 42-time award-winning and counting personalized skincare company recognized by places like Esquire, Ask Men, and Men's Health. They have over 10,000 5-star reviews, and the way that they work is they create a simple and effective skincare routine based on a little test that you take on their website, and then they only use ingredients that are proven to work. There's only a handful of ingredients that they even use. So if you're tired of dealing with stubborn acne or oily skin or dry skin, you can take the little quiz on their website and they will build you a personalized skincare routine. And I can personally attest to the fact that their ingredients work. Their products do work. Take a look at me. You may not know it looking at this handsome punk rock mug of mine, but I have extremely dry skin. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I moved to Colorado. My skin is constantly fighting me. But I've been using Geology, and I genuinely have been seeing a difference. And so has my wife. Although my wife is not allowed in the treehouse, she's not a man. So if you are a man who's been concerned with things like acne, with dry skin, with oily skin, with redness or dark circles under your eyes, and you've just been saying to yourself, man, I'm a man and can't use skincare products, I want you to get over yourself and pay attention for the next 12 seconds because I can get you 80% off your personalized skincare trial set, and I can also get you a 4-piece personalized skincare routine for $10. And do note that this is a subscription service, so they intend for you to keep using it, and you should keep using it because skincare is not just a one size or one thing solution. You got to keep with it, you got to stick with it, and I promise you that Geology will actually work if you stick with it. But if subscriptions aren't your thing, you can also go to Geology's Amazon page. You can also get Geology products off of Amazon with up to 25% off and free Prime shipping. So they have options for you whether you want to commit to a subscription or if you're comfortable doing one-time purchases repeatedly. Or if you just want to try it once and then think about it. So visit the link, use my code, get 80% off your 4-piece personalized skincare trial set. Or if you want to try one-time purchases, head on over to Geology on Amazon and get 25% off plus 2-day free shipping with Prime. And thank you to Geology for once again sponsoring the channel. I only do repeat sponsorships if I really think it's a good product, and consider this my Joe from Seattle stamp of approval. Geology is a very good product, and now I will let you keep watching whatever stupid nonsense you were watching before.